shortly. I don't know if Michael McElroy is going to be on or not. Welcome anyone who's watching to the Irreverent Skeptics Hangout. We talk today about Mike Buller's suggested topic of what is a skeptic. Um, I'm a skeptic.
Yeah, me too. You're looking at them. You're looking at four of them.
I've been told I'm a doubting asshat before, so I guess that goes along with it. Okay, so Mike, since this was your idea, you go first. Talk to us a little bit about what's a skeptic, and also what's coming up on your next podcast in either order.
Yeah, let's do the. But I'm finishing up my JFK stuff, so that'll be out next weekend, and then probably I'm going to hit vaccines. That'll be after that.
Excellent.
So I got that going, and I was hoping Michael was on McElroy because he kind of inspired this idea.
Well, he might be. He drops in a few minutes late sometimes. So.
Right, because
I need to get his phone number so I can just call and harass him on days like this. Like, get off your butt, turn off the PlayStation. Come on.
Yeah. Yeah, because like our last show, we had that one, the questions, and he was being accused of being condescending, and then the next day he pointed out, I forget what it was a family member posted something about Fukushima, and that he points out all that stuff, and again he was accused again of being condescending. So it was like, and it's kind of a subject I've been kind of interested in as a side note. I mean, who are we really? I mean, certainly, when I'll follow blogs and stuff like that, and there's and you get these. Then you got the guys like at Alex Tsakiris on Skeptico, and there's a whole website, debating skeptics and so on. And it's like, are we doing our job right? Are we, who are we really? I mean, are we being true to skeptics? Those type of questions it goes through my head all the time. It's like, I know for me, I'm happy with reassessing as new information comes in, reassessing it and trying to adapt it to what I already know and see how it fits, and if it does fit. I mean, especially with conspiracies, every day somebody new comes up with something, interesting or off the wall, and so I go and I reassess it, and okay, they make a point, but they're missing whatever. So it's figuring out I mean, as being a skeptic, it is this being open to new ideas. If the new ideas fit, if it doesn't, it's like, okay, then we point out why it doesn't fit, but then we end up being accused of being condescending, or we're and people will accuse us of the stuff that we're accusing the non-skeptic.
That's an easy tactic too, to say, oh, I'm not wrong, you're wrong. But I'm not doubtful, you're doubtful. Something like that it's an easy turnaround. It's one that's hard to argue with. But that's not really a position to take.
Right.
Certainly, there's a stigma often attached to skepticism or being a skeptic. I've run across that numerous times where I will say, like, oh, I don't know that I buy into that idea, and you get a lot of eye rolling, or people just like, oh yeah, you wouldn't. Oh no, I wouldn't, not without some kind of evidence to bolster that claim.
Right.
Well, I think that one thing, there's like a mistake that a lot of people make by saying that a skeptic is somebody who doesn't believe anything with evidence, and I don't think that's true. A skeptic can be perfectly willing to believe something with little or no evidence, but when they say something like, if I were to put my coin down, I'd say it was this way, but I realize that's purely my viewpoint and not backed up by evidence, and I'm willing to reconsider my views if more evidence becomes available.
Yeah, definitely. Oh no, I see your screenshot there of the definition of skeptic. I don't know what, freedictionary.com.
Yeah. Yeah.
I personally don't like the idea of being someone who instinctively or habitually doubts, questions, someone who doubts or disagrees with things. Like, I don't like to think that way. That may be the case, but I like to think I just question it first. So rather than doubting, it's less doubting, more of, well, I'd like to see evidence to support that rather than just, swallow this claim and believe it. I guess maybe that's doubtful. I tend to think of doubtful as, no, that's wrong until you show me otherwise. I try to take the approach of, okay, maybe I'm open to that idea. Now I'll come.
Yeah. I see some problems with the definition here too, but well, we basically habitually doubt things. But
That's a problem with the word skepticism right there, because a lot of the time, most of the time, when somebody says I'm skeptical about that, what they're really saying is, I don't think that's true. So
Right.
people get the impression just from that alone that a skeptic is a person who just doesn't think things are true.
yeah,
Yeah, I would almost like to see a different word we could use to define ourselves. Because of that very reason, I've said that before. It's like, well, if someone says I'm skeptical, people think, oh, or people will mean sometimes that I just doubt that's true, or people think that, oh, you just doubt that. That's certainly not the way I take it. It'd be nice if there was a better word to use.
I like critical thinker, but it's more of a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
yeah. And skeptic is pretty much the industry term, the industry norm already. But it makes it difficult when you have climate skeptics, which are basically deniers, or 9/11 skeptics. Some truthers call themselves skeptics. So you almost always end up defining the word anyway.
Mm-hmm.
The other day, I was going to meet up with skeptics, a local skeptics group, and I told my sister about it. She's into a bunch of woo and stuff, and she asked me what that means. What are the skeptics? And I didn't want to get into it, but I just told her that we're basically fanboys for logic and critical thinking.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, that works.
So, Brandy, welcome to the call. So we're starting out with Mike talking about what his idea of what is a skeptic. So Erno, if you have anything particularly to add, I'm trying to just go through the list here of people, so we all make sure we get our bid in.
Yeah. I don't think I'm coming up with anything just now.
Fair enough. Dumbass, anything more you'd like to add to that?
I think I've said my piece so far. I'll let you know if I have anything more to say.
All right, then, Brandy, since you just got here, tell us how do you define being a skeptic, or I guess what does it mean to you, or your experience with it? So she's muted. It's fine, but also can hear you all. Ah, the joys of Google Plus. I can only complain so much since it's all free. Okay, so while Brandy's trying to get her muted situation figured out, dumbass, what's next on your podcast lineup? How many podcasts do you actually do?
What?
How many do you do?
Well, I've got two that I'm in direct control of, and I guess two that I join in, yours and the Amateur Skeptics. So.
Right on.
Yeah, we're the professional skeptics.
Wow. The only time you'll ever hear me described as that.
Professional and skeptic, I don't know if that works.
I don't know how my boss would feel about that. He professional pain in the ass, perhaps. That's for sure.
Let's see, professional implies you're getting paid to do it.
In that case, I'm a professional bug creator. Good, I fixed this bug and created 3 more.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, that is software development in a nutshell.
Yeah.
I don't know if Randy's still having technical difficulty or not. The dog's about to attack the cat here. It's about to be Wild Kingdom over here.
It's hard to do this without our token woman.
What?
Token.
Oh!
Yeah, that really got her talking.
What?
The token female. Okay, Brandy, now that we can hear you well, so tell us your thoughts on what is a skeptic.
What is a skeptic? I think I'll borrow someone else's definition of intellectual as someone who adjusts their beliefs or accepts something based on evidence. So, just simple. I would like my beliefs to accord with reality. I think Matt Dillahunty says that, and I agree. So, just not accepting something on face, putting it through this filter of, well, how can we know that? Or what is the evidence that this is the case? And the more outlandish the claim, the more evidence is necessary to accept it. Pretty simple.
You guys say you see a lot of stigma in, say, generally like in well, I don't want to say the media, just like, I guess in society in general, a lot of stigma to that, as opposed to, I think of different TV shows where there's doctors that have some, this, a new diet, or this superfood that'll heal cancer in your colon or something like that. And it's
Dr.
like
Oz.
I didn't want to say Dr. Oz necessarily, but sure, okay, yeah.
I'll say it.
I didn't want to say it because like I don't really watch much Dr. Oz.
I've seen quite a bit of it, and I'm telling you, it is ridiculousness.
Okay, yeah, I remember I've read a couple times about things he said, but moreover, I don't really know the majority of the kind of things he says. But okay, so Dr. Oz, for instance, if that's the case, I believe you that's the case. So here's a guy who has his own TV show, who millions of people presumably watch, and he'll say these things like, oh, here's these superfoods you have to eat because they'll give you these miracle boosts to your immune system or some other shit. And so when someone tells you about that, there's a guy I work with who will sometimes tell me about new superfoods and things like that. And I don't tend to tell him my thoughts on it much because there's no need for me to be a naysayer, but I tend to think, yeah, that just, because, especially like if you send me a Men's Health article that says, oh, eat pine nuts and it'll make you run faster or some crazy shit. I'm just like, I kind of doubt that, and I don't see much cited generally in those articles. And I hear something that someone like Dr. Oz will say, and I'm like, well, I have questions about that. And it seems like when I talk about that with people, there seems to be a stigma about like, well, how come you have to doubt that? Well, I don't have to doubt it. I'd like it to be true. I'd love it to be true that I eat spinach and I'm going to live 10 years longer. I like that idea. I want to see something that supports that, other than just some guy that gets on TV and tells me it's the case. Show me some research that actually supports that. And often the research I see is a study was done that shows. Like, a study being done about anything doesn't really mean much to me. I'd like to see a number of studies, and I guess not just peer review, but numbers of studies that coincide. Like, yeah, in fact, here's 10, a couple dozen studies that all say the same thing. That would mean a lot more to me. When I present that kind of argument or that kind of skepticism, I suppose that often gets a scrunched up face or an eye roll or a very dismissive. You just want to be that way about things.
Yeah, with Dr. Oz, I suppose it's. I don't know the show. I've never seen anything of it, because I don't think we get it here, and I don't even have a TV. So I'm safe, but the doctor in front of his name probably gives him credentials, basically.
Well,
And
professionally,
with-
he's a cardiologist, and he's good at his profession. It's when he speaks outside of that he goes very awry.
Yeah.
But he's world-renowned. I mean, he's a very good
But
cardiologist.
what I
and
mean-
he's into woo.
What I mean is that John Doe like me going and talking against a person with 2 letters before his name.
Yeah.
So
I've got a really good quote from Dr. Oz here. This is from his book, Healing from the Heart. He said apparently he said it was a key turning point in his life during medical school when he encountered the grandmother cell theory, which states that the brain contains neurons that represent a person's grandmother, or more generally, any complex and specific concept or object. So he says, for me, the grandmother cell theory undermines the entire Western-based allopathic system of medicine because it didn't answer the main question, how do you truly recognize grandma? If you push the understanding of the physiological basis of medicine far enough, you'll usually come to a point that you can no longer defend it scientifically, that you must take it on faith. I couldn't.
Wow, I'm having trouble swallowing it.
yeah.
You send me a link to that? I want to read that again. Send me a link to that, or copy paste that in the chat.
I'll copy paste that for you.
Wow. I just heard a whole lot of say what? I'm not sure where to begin with that.
There's footage of him allowing energy work during cardiac surgery where there's some kind of Reiki or therapeutic touch, woo, princess doing some kind of magic over someone whose chest cavity is opened via bandsaw. Yeah, terrifying.
What?
Wow. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah, you can find
what?
footage of it.
What?
You don't have to believe me. You can find footage of energy
I
work during
believe you.
cardiac
Yes,
surgery.
yes.
Oh.
What?
Yeah, what? And what I wonder is, does the patient realize that this person who is not a medically trained anything is doing magic over their open chest?
Yeah.
I imagine
I'd
you
like
must
to
have
think-
to sign a consent for that.
I
Yeah,
don't
I'd
know,
like
because
to
they're not doing
think
anything
so,
medically.
But
I'd like to
it's-
think so, but
but-
I don't know. Like, wow.
They're not doing anything medically, so I don't know.
Yeah, that could just be one of those things. Like it was in the forms you signed, and we didn't point it out. Maybe.
Well, they might be referred to as non-medical staff, like janitorial or whatever. So non-medical techs or whatever, non-medical staff. I don't know. And I don't know if she was being paid. I don't know if the person whose heart was stopped at the time was in on it. I don't know. But it just was scary enough that this person was doing magic, and he's all scrubbed up. I mean, the surgery is happening.
Yeah. One of the benefits of government-paid healthcare is pretty much that they don't pay for shit like that. So
Well, what's
the
terrifying is
government is always penny pinching. So
he works at a good place. I mean, this isn't some kind of fringe place. This is somewhere like, Johns Hopkins or Presbyterian something or other. It's a big famous place where people go because he's the expert, and that is terrifying.
I'm pretty sure they are private institutions. So.
Well, hospitals here are weird like that. They're sort of Catholic, sort of public, sort of government, and then you could have government insurance that's funding it, but the institution itself is called St. Mary's. It's a weird mix of things.
I posted the quote to the chat here. The thing that I like about it is the last part. He says, if you push the understanding of the physiological basis of medicine far enough, you'll usually come to a point that you can no longer defend it scientifically, that you must take it on faith, and I couldn't.
Yeah.
So he goes to a series of a type of medicine that you have to take completely on faith is his solution.
Yeah, pretty much. That's one of the bigger paragraphs of bullshit I've ever seen. And I hate that allopathic word. It's basically a BS word anyway.
I don't know what to make of that. I'm gonna have to chew on that for a while.
Yeah, John. How do you
That's one of those
recognize
things
your
where
grandma?
if someone said that all to me, I'd just be like, I will have to get back to you. I don't know what to say right now. I will get back to you on that. That is.
What does allopathic mean? I don't know that word, actually.
Yeah, I don't either.
It's just a bullshit word meaning real medicine, basically.
Oh, okay. That's right.
It's the idea, basically, that you treat symptoms and not diseases and the person as a whole. It's something that homeopaths and
Oh, I was
bullshit
thinking
artists.
holistic. Isn't that holistic?
Yeah, holistic
Okay.
is the
allopathic
what the
versus
homeopathy
holistic
is.
medicine.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and and allopathic is like the opposite of holistic.
Oh, I see. Which sometimes that's the best they can do is symptom management or chronic disease management, diabetes, legitimate diabetic management. That's really what it is. They can't fix diabetes, so what they do is teach you to manage it. I mean, it's symptom management, avoiding blindness, avoiding neuropathic pain, neuropathy. Sorry, yeah, avoiding. It is symptom management, which is quite legitimate. I can function because of because of symptom management. Chiropractic care, when it is legitimate, is symptom management. And when you're in excruciating pain, yeah, that's a good thing. Oh, you'll find something funny about this, or now my doctor, my legitimate PCP family care doctor, recommended chiropractic, but when he did so, he whispered it. He said, you can try chiropractic if you want to go for symptom management when you're in pain, because basically we can't fix this thing that's wrong with you.
Yeah.
And my insurance happily paid. Happily.
Wow.
That's.
I just inhaled my coffee. It doesn't work any faster that way, just so everyone knows.
I
Do
was
you
lucky
have
enough to have a kind of
evidence
good
for
one.
that? An anecdote is not evidence.
What did Matt Dillahunty say the other week? It was so funny. He said the plural of anecdote is not data. I thought that was funny.
Yes. That is a lovely statement.
Yeah. I thought it was funny that he whispered chiropractic, which tells me on some level he knows that this is shady and not legitimate, and what I'm about to say is off color.
Yeah.
It did help, though. I was lucky to find a legitimate chiropractor. We should say he was some kind of physical therapist, really, but under the guise of chiropractic that my insurance paid for. And it did work for symptom management. I went in lots of pain, and when I left, was in no pain. So it was wonderful, but it was because he used techniques that were legitimate and known to physical therapy.
Yeah. It's just that physical therapists have to be licensed, I think, probably in the US too. But chiropractic is basically not regulated in any meaningful sense.
Right, and to be considered part of this insurance plan, this guy had to be approved somehow, but it definitely was not anything legitimizing his practice. I mean, he could have been woo, and he could have still been on their list of providers. It's just a bureaucratic process to get on their list of providers. One doesn't have to prove that what one does works or is accepted in the medical profession. Nope. Yeah, for $20 I could go see, and I think my insurance probably paid him $80. So yeah, it was $100 for an hour. Cost me $20.
Yeah.
So what is the skeptic?
Oh, I was muted. I just realized.
Can we say that we are not automatically, what's the word? I don't want to say naysayers, debunkers. There you go. That's the thing that often gets, conflated with skeptic is debunker. We're just automatically out to say everything is a fraud or prove everything fraudulent, which I think that is not helpful.
Yeah, I was talking about that at the very beginning, how that comes a lot from just the word skeptic itself. I think you weren't here then.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I basically complimented it with saying that then there are those people who believe all kinds of things and call themselves skeptics, usually conspiracy theorists.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, I had a friend, a classmate, some years ago who was like into every conspiracy I know, fluoride, 9/11. The banking conspiracy, like Rothschild thing, and
The Build-A-Burger thing, is that?
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
There's
One of my favorites.
a good book about that.
Was it by Alex Jones?
No, it's called Them.
Oh, damn.
That's a very good book.
Sounds like an Alex Jones book.
No, this is awesome though. It's I always forget the British guy's name, but it's very good.
Oh, is that the one? I think I got it recently. Who's the guy?
I'm so bad. He wrote Oh, he wrote the
John
Men Who
Ronson.
Stare at Goats.
John Ronson.
Yes, Ronson. Yes, thank you. Yes, that's him. That is a great book about them, about the conspiracies, and he actually goes and wades in the weeds and does all the stuff and gets his hands dirty. It's great.
Is he the one that did the psychopath or sociopath?
Yes, the
Yes.
psychopath
Psychopath
test and Men Who Stare at Goats. Mm-hmm. And they're all
I've heard
really
him.
good.
I think I've heard him a few times on a couple of radio shows.
Yeah, when he
as
puts
well.
out a new book, he does the circuit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's been on some skeptical podcasts too.
I want to say I think I've heard him on This American Life and on Radio Lab before.
Yes.
Seems like.
Yeah, for Psychopath Test, he did Radiolab, and then they all got tested and whatnot. So yeah, he was on that episode.
Was he? It doesn't matter.
He's very British with a very interesting sing-song kind of accent, real neurotic and funny.
He's the one who did the on the Talking to Machines AI episode where he talked to the like the bust, the android bust.
The female, right?
Yeah, I forget what her name was.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know you're talking
That's him. Yeah, John Ronson. Excellent book called Them about all of that, where he goes in and talks to the people, the Ruby Ridge people, and the Bilderberger, and all of that. He goes in incognito, really funny. Tries to be spy.
May have to read that.
Or listen to it. It's part of your collection.
My enormous book collection. More books than I'm ever going to get through in my lifetime.
I'm the same way.
I'm waiting for the day when I find a way to just like plug the book in automatically. There,
I
I've
just
now
got
absorbed
myself
that.
a new bookcase over here. I've only filled up one. I've only filled up one shelf. Those are all the Skeptic and science books that I've read, the physical ones anyway. I've got a whole big bookcase full of ones that I haven't read yet.
Do you do Audible?
Yes, I do.
Love it. What an addiction that is. Ooh.
I've got hundreds of books on Audible.
Yeah.
I used to consume audiobooks like hell, but then I found podcasting, and I've been consuming podcasts like hell.
Yes.
Between audiobooks, regular books, and podcasts, my time is very full. I have a much longer list of things I'd like to read or listen to than I have time to do.
Yeah.
Now I have to trim down the list. I have to filter out like what do I really want to read or listen to.
Yeah, I could do when I was still working. I could listen at work, and now when I walk my dog or drive somewhere, I usually listen to a podcast, and I do a lot of those. Like probably, I consume like 3 or 4 hours of podcasts a day. So.
Easy to do. You know, I want to mention Joe Nichols, speaking of the opposite of debunker. He actually goes and does these investigations to weeping statues, and, you know, he did the Shroud of Turin. He took that down, and I really like him as far as if someone asks me sort of what is the ideal mindset of a skeptic, I think Joe Nichols. He goes in, does an honest investigation, and reports his findings. And, you know, he often gets called in by church officials and things like that, so it kind of tells you that even they know that he's going to give it a fair shake. He is not a debunker of things, but a very thorough, careful investigator and a nice guy. And so I like it when I hear him on podcasts. I think, okay, you represent the skeptical community. You do it well. You do us proud.
I've read the same many times. Go ahead, dumbass.
I've read a couple things by Joe.
Terrible, doesn't it? Like, go ahead, dumbass.
May we call you Chris?
I've read a couple things by Joe Nichols. I don't think I've read any of his books, but I've read stuff that he's written, like little pieces he's written in other books and stuff. And I really like what he has to say.
And he doesn't take any condescending tone. He's not a firebrand. He doesn't, assume people are stupid or crooked or whatever. He just goes in and says, okay, well, weeping statue, show me how that would work, and then sets up his stuff and goes about his business.
One thing I've tried to do over the years is adjust my tone when I'm presented with something that I'm dubious about. I try and have a more reasonable response to it. And I've said plenty of times, like, I really wish that was true. Ghosts, would be awesome if ghosts were true. UFOs would be, well, not UFOs, aliens would be great if aliens were here on Earth. Like, that would be fantastic. And Bigfoot would be cool.
I want
like,
Bigfoot.
Yes, Bigfoot would be great.
Yeah.
It's not that I don't want those things to be true. I just don't see that they are.
No, we say we'd like to see Bigfoot, but if Bigfoot was ever found, wouldn't it just be, after like a few days, it'll be like, yeah, another ape.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, but this
don't
one
get
is
me.
supposed to be like 8 feet tall and lives in my neck of the woods, or lives where my mom is from in Oregon. Like, oh my God, that's just amazing. Just physically, wow.
I think Bigfoot lives wherever there is a small patch of forest in the world. Someone's seen a Bigfoot there.
For me, it wouldn't be some lifelong love of Bigfoot. It'd be like, there's a Sasquatch. Oh, cool, Sasquatch.
Yeah, it's like
What
when
do we
there's
have for lunch anyway? Like,
Yeah. No, you'd have questions. How did an 8-foot tall primate evade humankind for so long, and why aren't there corpses, of these things? And what does it eat? Where is it in the food chain? I'd have science questions about it for a while.
Sure. Yeah, that would be one of those things. Like after a while, it would just be like, okay, so there's another thing that exists. Like,
Yeah, I think Bigfoot is one of the more it's also a little plausible, more plausible than, let's say, the New World Order. That's but
when I was younger, I was so ready to believe the government cover up, like Roswell, for instance. I was totally like, yeah, that's a thing. That's got to be a thing. That's got to be true. And then I get a little bit older and put my critical thinking hat on and was like, oh, that's disappointing. That's
as sad as it is, I used to be a Zeitgeister for a while, for a short while.
I wanted that to be true so bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to share that movie, and oh god, no.
I've heard about that. I have yet to ever see it.
I tried to watch it once, and it was like loose change. I got a few minutes in, and my blood pressure was probably at unsafe levels. I just had to turn it off. I just thought, okay, I'll watch something, crazy like this, and we'll see if it's okay if I disagree. And it was just like that one put out by what's his name, was the game show host, like about the conspiracy of what was it, Expelled or. Oh, that's terrible. But anyway, I couldn't watch very much of Loose Change or Zeitgeist without just reaching stroke level blood pressure.
Ben Stein?
Yeah, Ben Stein, thank you. I'm terrible. I'm like, that guy, the guy who's a game show host who's real smart in one area and just dense, obtuse in this other area. Yeah, that movie, I watched 5 minutes of it and I couldn't handle it.
Huh.
Since, Mike, you do a podcast on conspiracies, I suppose you get a few comments now and then that you're not a skeptic because you clearly believe the official story.
Not yet.
Yeah. He's a shill.
Yeah, actually not yet. I only had one who wanted me to relook at chemtrails, and I was like, okay, cool. I looked at it, and I made a comment that no, Al Gore didn't say anything about that we're spraying. There's a couple scientists who wants to do some, or theoretically or hypothetically they want to try to spray. They're trying to simulate volcanoes, that type of thing. But there was nothing in there about we're loading up planes full of chemicals to do all sorts of nasties. And that's about all I've gotten.
Somehow I thought that you might attract a lot of those kind of skeptics.
Right, haters and commenting trolls and what. Have you seen a lot more activity with your podcast due to this whole JFK? Every podcast I listen to is now going on and on about JFK.
I've seen an uptick. Searches, but I think I don't know if they're blowing past it because they think it sucks, but...
no, there's just a lot of it suddenly, and I thought that will at least send some traffic your way because people, I guess, still interested.
Yeah, I've seen the end searches, and they're looking for JFK conspiracy. So looks like they're hitting my site. So that's kind of cool. But actually, outside of, I did do a search. I searched my name out, and I found that there was one guy who called me a turd and an asshole.
I will go on record and say you are the farthest thing from a turd, please. Yeah. Please, the nicest guy.
So,
can you change your tag to skeptical turd?
Okay.
Well, dumbass and skeptical turd. Oh no. Am I token female? Me and Rebecca Watson, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. 4 guys and Rebecca Watson.
I love her. Don't go there. Talk about people that attract mean trolls. Holy shit.
Yes.
That is so fucked up.
She's a woman and has strong opinions. And
how dare she?
Yeah, that's going to harvest you a shit ton of comments.
I know my place. Thank you very much. My place is Mouthy Broad. That's my place. I have a
Not barefoot and pregnant into the kitchen?
If you've ever tasted my cooking, you would never want to punish anybody by sending me into the kitchen. You need to pray before, during, and after you eat if I'm cooking. As my mom would say, it's okay. You went to college. It's okay. Like that is not my skill. Domestic bliss. No.
It's funny how really intense and upset people can get at you just for disagreeing with them, you know?
Even if you're polite,
or
such as Rebecca Watson, you say a little
thing. Even if you just don't agree. Like, you don't even have to disagree. You just have to be like, oh, I don't know about that. And that can really set someone off.
Yeah.
Or I've said things like, well, how can that work? Someone says, oh, eat blueberries, that's a fat burner. And I say, well, I've taken anatomy and physiology. Just how would that work? I don't understand its mechanism. I don't mean it can't work. I mean, literally, do explain to me the mechanism by which a berry will burn fat. Yeah, that's all I'm asking.
That's pretty much the same as the link I pasted on the Irreverent Skeptics thing with the apple cider vinegar. It was just the claims were just I know nothing about apple cider vinegar and dogs, but well, I know about dogs, but not veterinary medicine. But
what I know about apple cider vinegar is it is an excellent ingredient in vinaigrettes, and some vinaigrettes. Other than that, I don't. Yeah, that's about it. Like, I would never drink that on its own. Like, maybe on a dare. Like that. When I heard about people drink that for health reasons, I'm like, yeah, you'd have to dare me or pay me a little amount of cash, something like that.
I've heard models say that it suppresses the appetite, but vinegar has some really cool properties. You don't have to make up stuff about vinegar. You can clean with it. It does all kinds of cool things, but magic is not one of them.
So we have two questions in the Q&A off topic, but I'll address them anyway. So the first question by Games, Animes, and Diversion is, what is most important to you? Anybody jump in there. What's most important to you?
Really? basically, as lame as the answer is, the freedom to choose is pretty much, and I don't mean like, that's not a pro-choice argument. But
mine is knowledge for the sake of knowledge. Like that is the most important thing to me is knowledge. I every day I want to learn something new.
Yeah, I get
freedom of speech, definitely, and freedom of access to information. I like it that I could go on PubMed and know as much as my doctor knows. I don't have to have a certificate, but if I want to know about my diabetes and how the islets of Langerhans work, I can just look it up. I love that.
Whoa there, lady with the education and the talking freely. Who do you think you are?
Yeah. What the hell?
What the shit? I gotta find a Bible to throw at you or something. What?
Please pay my dad some shekels. You owe my dad some shekels.
That's right, some shekels. 30 shekels.
I'm still breathing though, so it probably won't cost you that much.
Oh wow! So there was that. Okay, the other question by the same person is: do you prefer winter or summer? Summer.
Yeah, summer, definitely.
Yes.
Summer.
Early fall. Warm days in the 70s and at night in the 60s. Perfect.
Do you prefer A or B? And Brandy said C.
my distaste for the winter is like well known among my friends. If I had the choice and I could just go into hibernation for the winter, I would do it. I fucking despise snow. Snow is the worst thing on this fucking planet.
Oh man, you sound a lot like me. I'm talking about moving up farther north to Pennsylvania. And my friends are like, "Are you out of your fucking mind? Like, you know it snows there, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know. Damn it."
Yeah, it's like there's no snow yet. We had like 10 centimeters of snow.
I just realized we're getting
before
right
yesterday,
now.
but it melted away. So
we have had a dusting or two in Pittsburgh, but it hasn't stuck.
It's supposed to snow today in Pittsburgh, I think. There's
And
a
I say
chance of it,
no,
you know. Yeah.
based on the sky, no.
Yeah, it's still sunny. I don't know how it's going to suddenly start snowing. But
It's sunny, but it doesn't have, there aren't those certain dark gray bellies on clouds that tell you snow.
I don't think you can. Can you see outside my window at all?
No,
oh yeah.
No.
Yeah.
the exposure is
white.
kind of.
I think all that white is the snow, actually.
Oblivion, white
Yeah.
oblivion. Yeah. It can be
Yeah,
sunny
see,
and still snow.
Yeah, I thought it was just overexposed.
No, that's the
I have a
blizzard.
friend in Quebec who was trying to get me to move there and offered to help get me a really nice software development job a couple years back. And finally, it occurred to me one day, he's like, he will send me pictures of, oh yeah, there's this 8-foot snowdrift outside my house this morning, and I was like, super fuck that. Like, that's something I want.
As they say.
Yeah, and in
In
Finland
French,
it's
the
also
fuck?
also during the winter it's really dark here.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Does the gray and the dark get you down? Because I find myself depressed when the gray lasts for months, like it does in Michigan. Months you don't see the sun. It's just awful.
Yeah, it's basically when I go to the university in the morning, and when the lessons are over, it's already basically dark.
Yep.
So I don't get to enjoy the sun much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's like maybe it's now like 7 or 6 hours of light, and it's just going down to like something just over 5 hours of daylight.
Yeah, it's getting like that here too. Dark super early in the afternoon.
So on the topic of what is a skeptic, so you guys tell me an example or two of people that you think very much exemplify skepticism, or maybe role models in skepticism and critical thinking. So let's go reverse order here. So Brandy, hit us up with a person or two.
James Randi. I mean, to take the low-hanging fruit, here's a man who does it in an entertaining style, and the fact that he is a grouchy old curmudgeon in some ways is part of the wonder of it. I mean, he really can take down people like psychics and people that are screwing people over for money, con artists, and he does it in a way that's entertaining and has done so for decades. I mean, talk about longevity. Here's this one literally little magician who has done wonders and has actually solved problems, and he's just fantastic and has built a foundation that brings other people into the movement, and also, of course, he hosts TAM, so there's that. I think he is kind of people say Dawkins is our god. Like, no. If we have someone that you could say is a leader in our movement, I would say James Randi.
And also the James Randi, the
Education
$1 Million Challenge.
Yeah.
Very, very telling. It's
very.
Yeah.
And that's been the case for decades.
I think it's the best proof we have of nothing supernatural happening. Because
people will say, oh, I don't do it for money. It's like, okay, well, don't do it for personal gain.
Donate.
Prove your psychic abilities and then give that money to children that need it.
Children who have cancer.
Find a good use for that $1 million, and no one does.
Yeah, they claim that the price is not real, or that the
That's all
tests
bullshit.
are, and the tests are rigged, and they have like all kinds of explanations of why they failed.
Yeah, couldn't collect from Sylvia Brown.
Yeah, and she's agreed many times. Many times.
All right, so Chris, or dumbass.
Chris is just a fake name that I use online there, so.
Okay, see, he said it, so I don't feel bad about saying dumbass. It's awkward, but I'll still keep saying it.
Please do. I don't mind at all.
I like Chris. It humanizes you.
Well, my real name is foreign, and you'd have trouble with it a little bit. So I just prefer not to go to the hassle.
It's fine.
Fair enough.
I was just looking at my bookshelf here, my Skeptic books. Just a few authors that I really like. Benjamin Radford. I've got a few books by him. He writes some good stuff. I've heard that a few people have personal issues against him. I don't know anything about that, but I really like his books. And Joe Nickel writes a section in here too. And I found myself really liking this. This is his book, Scientific Paranormal Investigation. I got it signed by him here. But,
very cool. So you met him?
Yeah. I haven't met him, but I've talked to him online.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. I also
What
really like.
podcast is he? I'm sorry. He's a podcaster too, and I can't think of which one
Yes,
is his.
Monster Talk.
Monster Talk. That's the one. Yeah, yeah. Oh, so he did the taking down the chupacabra.
Yes.
That's him. Yeah, that's him.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. Very good call.
Yeah. I also like this guy who writes the book "Damned Lies and Statistics." Joel Best. He's got three books here: "Damned Lies and Statistics," "More Damned Lies and Statistics," and "Stat Spotting: A Field Guide to Identifying Dubious Data," which I think these are great books for anybody who's a skeptic and wants to understand how to understand information and data.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course,
another one who got in the weeds. He went down and like does all these investigations hands-on, or a lot of them.
And then, of course, there's Ben Goldacre. So I guess those would be my 3 picks for people.
Excellent. All right, Erno, hit us up with something.
Well, I would say Neil deGrasse Tyson is my basically favorite because unlike most skeptics seem to just go on with science questions and such, but Neil deGrasse Tyson also talks a lot about social issues and such. So I'm
a fan of his Star Talk podcast.
Yeah, he's one of my favorites, and well, I suppose Steve Novella, you have to basically mention him. He's inside the movement. He's like the guy who knows everyone who's anyone.
Right on. All right, Mike Bowler, hit us up.
Oh, I already hit all my favorites. James Randi. I guess we didn't mention Carl Sagan. Yeah, he's a good one.
He's dead, Jim.
Oh, who else? Who else would be cool? Oh, I'm trying to think. I mean, I'll go with Carl Sagan. There's like Massimo Pigliucci and his. He's really good at it. Who else? Because I've read Nonsense on Stilts. That's a cool book. Trying to think of what's all in my collection. I mean, I've got a couple hundred books sitting at home, except I'm not at home. There is that. Who wrote Freakonomics?
Oh, Stephen Levy and Stephen, the other one, Stephen.
Yeah, because I just read the book, and he goes into these. It's just this weirdest, and it kind of turns. The book actually turns you around, and it's like, what we would think would be normal isn't. At least as far as economics goes. So there's neat stuff along that lines.
Yeah.
So those would be my picks.
Yeah, Freakonomics was the first basically skeptical book I have, which pretty much sparked my interest in skepticism. Although it's not like a scientific book per se, but it has a lot of things on like stats, like why do drug dealers live with their mom's in their mom's basement and everything.
That was the one that got me real. I mean, I thought that was so hilarious how you get this impression that these are guys that are making tons of money, and really the street pushers are.
Yeah, the ones we are jailing basically are the ones who do not make any money.
Right.
Mm-hmm. That take all of the risk, assume all of the risk, and move all of the product, but really don't reap those kind of benefits. They're lower on the food chain than people realize.
Yeah.
You guys hit on the ones I was thinking of. First and foremost was Carl Sagan, because that was really the first book I ever read that kind of formalized critical thinking or skepticism for me. Like, oh, here's like what was it, Candle in the Dark, Demon Haunted World. I read that many years ago. I was like, wow, this is exactly the kind of thing I've been needing to read. It really kickstarted my journey into skepticism, if you will. Also, I was going to mention Neil deGrasse Tyson because I'm a big fan of his show, and I kind of feel like he's the new Carl Sagan in a way. It's like he kind of took up the torch. And my other is shameless plug for Mike Bowler, who you were my favorite skeptic in terms of conspiracy theories, because that was a niche I was so needing to find, and I was like, man, there has to be a show that will talk about these things. Because my friends and I would sit around and talk about conspiracy theories, and I was like, there has to be some podcast that deals with this. And then I found the Skeptic's Guide to Conspiracy. So you, sir, make my list.
Yeah, and actually, two people we didn't mention is Penn and Teller, who basically are popularizers of skepticism, but they are somewhat controversial because of the bullshit TV series, and I don't agree with them all the time, but
right.
Yeah,
you know,
but
I like it when
you...
I don't agree with somebody all of the time. You know, that makes it really interesting. And one thing about Penn Jillette, I listened to his Penn Sunday School, and I've read a couple of his books, I think. And the one thing about him is I either, say, man, you pulled those thoughts straight out of my head, or are you sure we're the same species?
Yeah.
Yeah, when they go into economical issues, I'm usually not with them.
I mean, the libertarian vent Penn goes into, it's kind of a turnoff. But you know what? Everything else is really really excellent.
Yeah,
so
it's just bad because economics is basically a political idea where there's probably no right answer. There's no supreme economical system where everyone is happy. That's probably true. So when it's mixed in with like science and critical thinking, it gives it the idea. I think it gives it false value, but that's just me.
My big thing about Penn Jillette is how he has to make sure I mention 1,000 times in everything he writes about how I don't ever take drugs or alcohol. Congratulations, we get it. Like you're straight and narrow. Congrats.
Holier than thou.
Yeah. I was also going to mention that thanks to Mike Bowler, that's how I got turned on to dumbasses stuff. So.
Yep.
Well, if it wasn't for dumbass, I probably wouldn't be doing this too. So on this podcast, so it's kind of a three-way street here, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it's like rappers. There'll be great ones that bring in other great ones, and it's kind of the lineage of greatness. And that's how it goes.
Yeah. Because I early on I was kind of into the Ancient Aliens stuff, and but after a while it was like, wait a minute, this is what it became. Why were these aliens coming to this? Why would aliens come to this planet and fuck with the humans?
Mutilate cows.
Yeah.
Don't you have cows on your planet?
So
the answer is Starfleet. They're just hanging around space because they are socialist scum who have nothing to do. So they just hang around other planets.
It was actually the adolescent aliens that were, hey, let's go mess with this.
Instead of cow tipping, they're cow mutilating.
What was it from Hitchhiker's Guide? What do they call them? They
Oh, the big dumb things. I can't remember what they're called, but they bad poetry and.
Oh no. I'm trying to remember now. Was it buzzers or some? I mean, they find planets that they haven't reached interspace travel and buzz them. Making tweet noises at them. And,
I haven't read that far. I don't think. I guess I don't remember. That's funny.
I remember something about that.
Oh, Brandy.
Funny though.
Yeah.
Brandy mentioned here in chat Christopher Hitchens. How did I not? I don't know how I didn't think about that.
God is not great.
God is not great. When I heard the audiobook of that, I picked up the audiobook at the same time I got the physical book, and I was like, oh, I'm driving somewhere, so I'll just start listening to the audiobook, and like listening to Hitchens read that, I couldn't read it. I was like, I have to hear him do it. That was an amazing book.
Yeah, wonderful takedown and funny and just beautiful, elegant, of course.
I for a long time had a interest in a skeptical look at conspiracies, but it wasn't really until 9/11 conspiracies that I got. I guess that kind of boosted my interest in a skeptical approach to conspiracy theories, because it was just like I don't know. I guess in some sense it hits a little closer to home because of something that happened in my lifetime and something that affected the country so greatly. But so when I remember when I watched Loose Change, a friend of mine gave me that. It's like, you got to watch this movie. This will blow your mind. And it blew my mind, just not in the same way they thought it would. It's like, people are believing this shit? Like, really?
Yeah, I was really taken on by Loose Change and Zeitgeist, but that was years ago. They were new things.
Well,
at
when
that time, but
my very first impression was, like, is that a thing? Could that be? And I thought about it. It's like, and I talked to some of my friends, like, what do you think about this idea that I saw?
I swallowed
pretty
it
quickly.
hook, line,
Pretty
and
quickly, I
sinker.
went back to, no, really, that's not a thing. Like, people really to question that maybe this thing happened. Okay, that's fine. To have a question about it is okay, but to just be like, yeah, this has to be the truth, and this is exactly how it has to be. Like, I don't know about that. There's some big logical leaps made in the 9/11 conspiracy theories that just don't stand up to the most basic questioning.
I think I hear the ocean.
My goodness.
My space heater, sorry.
All right, so we're running up on about an hour, so I guess we'll wrap it up. So, Mike Bowler, any final thoughts for anybody?
Final thoughts. Oh, what? I have none.
There you go.
There we go.
Okay, then, Erno, hit us with some last-minute knowledge.
Did curiosity kill the cat?
Good question.
All right, dumbass.
Well, I guess I'd just say that skepticism isn't about what conclusion you come to, or it's more about how you think and how you form conclusions about recognizing uncertainty and not letting yourself take anything that you believe too seriously.
Excellent. Brandy, last thoughts?
Even though skepticism as a worldview can sometimes be unsatisfying in that you don't get a conclusion or it's not one that you would like to be the case, it is still worth doing for its own sake.
Absolutely. I don't have any addendum to skepticism for my last thoughts. I'll just say that I don't know for sure that we'll have this next week. At least I may not be here. I'll be traveling one day next weekend, so I'll post an event whenever I find out. And otherwise,
I'm skeptical.
I am skeptical.
I'm skeptical that that's the case, that you're going to be traveling. I'm just saying we'll see you next week. Same time, same station.
Excellent. All right, then. So that'll be it for now, and we will catch everyone here soon.